Here, our all-time favourite sponge cake. Originally coming from Central Europe. All you need is 4 eggs in a mixing bowl with 80 grams of sugar, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Whisk it all up. Using an electric whisk will speed up the process. Once it thickens and becomes white in colour, we're going to add 100 grams of flour. Pour that all in with 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. On a low speed, we're going to mix those in so the flour doesn't go over the edges of the bowl. And slowly but surely, we're going to add 80 grams of melted butter. Making sure it's mixed in with no curdling effect. You can experiment with your flavours here. We're doing a vanilla sponge cake, but of course you can do chocolate sponge cake, coffee sponge cake, anything you like. Now this part will take a little bit of time and patience, but it is well worth it because once you've got the right consistency, it really does make a difference to how light and fluffy your cake is. So once that's all mixed together, that is going to go into a square-shaped cake tin. We want this to be quite large in size and not too deep because we're going to spread out our butter cake mixture. That's to help us roll it easily later on, so we don't want our cake to be too thick. Now you've noticed we're pouring this onto baking paper. That's going to help us roll it up later on. So with a flat knife or a spatula, we spread that out evenly. In a new mixing bowl, we're going to add 10 grams of cocoa powder, so just a little bit. Now gradually we're going to pour 20 millilitres of oil into that. We're going to stir this one bit at a time because we want to make sure that there aren't any lumps. We want a nice smooth mixture. Now with the oil, you can choose your type. You could use coconut oil if you want to be super healthy, even olive oil, or just plain old vegetable oil. We're going to add a little bit of butter cake mixture that we have saved into this. 4 or 5 spatulas. Stir it all up to get a chocolate butter cake mixture. Now this is going to be put into a piping bag. We're going to form a pattern on our cake before we bake it. Careful not to spill any over the edges. Once that's full, we're going to just snip the end off so we have a thin nozzle. That is going to go diagonally across our vanilla cake mix. Keeping a steady hand to get straight lines. Take your time with this one. 50% of food enjoyment is in the presentation. Now, with a cocktail stick, we're going to just go backwards and forwards in the opposite direction to our lines to create a beautiful pattern, looking a bit like a giant Bakewell tart. Now that's going to go in the oven at 180 degrees for 20 minutes. Once that's nicely risen, it comes out of the oven. We're going to turn it upside down. Remove the edges of our baking paper. Peel it off and add some buttercream. We're going to smooth that over, evenly covering the surface. Now we're going to make some indents across. Not all the way through, just part way, because we want to start rolling our Swiss roll. We're using baking paper to do this so that we don't get our hands too messy, making the process much easier. Twisting the ends there, making sure it's tight enough to keep its shape once you remove the baking paper. And there we have it. Slice a piece off, Reminds you of your childhood birthday parties. And now let's drizzle it with our favourite chocolate sauce. Look at that soft sponginess against the cream and the chocolatey drizzle. How about a little bit of whipped cream on the side? And maybe even a raspberry. Delicious.